Welcome back to another episode of the Science of Winning podcast. Today, I want to share with you one thing that you can do to change your state and change your state almost immediately. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about state. State is how you show up every single moment. It is your state of being. There are four main, you can say, buckets or categories or aspects or pillars of performance, and state is one of them. And there's a number of different ways to change your state. If you take a look at the analogy I like to use in sports, because it's the simplest thing that most people can relate to, how a player shows up on the court is the most important thing. It's even more important than their skill set, because if you're not in an optimal state, you will not be able to use the skill set that you have. So state is a key to unlocking performance and the highest level of performance. And there's a number of different things that you can actually do to enhance your state, optimize your state, train your state, and program your state. But here's something that is so phenomenal that it impacts every single person's state, from babies all the way up to your later years of your life, and that is music. And music is extremely powerful, and it can shift your state almost immediately. This is why when you're driving down the street and a song comes up that reminds you of some really good memories of the past, you automatically start to feel good. Or perhaps you're listening to a song that brings back memories of some challenging times in your life, and it might bring your state down. So music has a very powerful effect on a person's state. This is why when you go into certain, whether it's places of worship, whether it's a church or a temple or mosque or wherever it may be, you hear certain types of music or hymns or whatever that is, and you automatically get into a certain state. And I'm just sharing this for myself. I used to go to the Sikh temple all the time because that's our religious background. Although I'm not super religious, I take the values and the philosophies from pretty much every single religion out there. But when I would go into the Sikh temple and I would hear the hymns that they would play, it just automatically put me in a state. Same thing goes for sports. How do you feel when you go to a hockey game and you hear in the background, we will rock you, right? So what does that do? Or you go to a basketball game and they have some really cool music playing in the background. It gets people pumped up. It gets you in a particular state. So this is important for us when we are looking to shift our state. Well, there's a number of different things that you can do. But one of them is just playing music. One of them is just playing a favorite song of yours or having a playlist to shift your state. This is why when I work out, I have a workout playlist, and many people do, because it gets you energized. It gets you feeling powerful. You get into that state. And in my workouts, for example, my playlist is even aggressive to a certain point because I'm ready to get pumped up. I'm ready to be completely focused and beat up those weights as much as possible. That's the only place where I actually get to beat something up, is the weights. And I sometimes I tell my son, I'm like, son, you got to watch out a little bit, because he works out with me. And I'm like, if I'm in the middle of a set and I'm listening to a certain song, because sometimes he'll just put his hand on my shoulder or he'll bump into me. Like I'm in that zone. I am in that state where I am aggressive because I am trying to push as much weight or get as many reps out there. That's the impact of music. And the reason why it has an impact, there's a number of reasons, but here's the interesting part here. Here's what the research shows. So every single song, every single tune, for example, there's a frequency tied to it. So there's energy, right? Frequency, right? We equate that to energy. So your mind is listening to this frequency, and it actually shifts. It can actually shift the frequency of your brain waves. And everything in life that is living has some kind of frequency to it. Your cells have a frequency, right? And so when your cells are actually exposed to a certain type of music, yeah, it's actually shifting their frequency to a certain point. And it's actually shifting your brainwaves to a certain point. And it's shifting your thinking to a certain point. So music can shift how you think and feel. And in many cases, this is why there's certain frequencies that they correlate to healing. This is why meditation has certain types of frequencies. Different frequencies. And this is ancient teaching from, we're talking about thousands of years ago. And it's really interesting. One point that I just want to share here, and I just want to sum it up for you, is that when you take a look at Eastern practices or hymns, for example, or when you hear Om, right? So that's one of an Eastern hymn when you listen to it, when you hear people saying Om, people think that it's actually the word that they're actually listening to. It's actually the vibration. It's the frequency. It just happens to sound like that word. So people have trained themselves to resonate at a certain frequency that actually shifts their thinking and shifts their cells. So that is something I want to leave with you. If you want to change your state and you want to change your state fast, pick a song, have a playlist. I think this works for you. It also works for your team members as well. I highly encourage you to have a theme song for your team, whether it's a leadership team, whatever team it is, because you want your people to get into a certain state as well. And I don't like to be formal with this. If you're in a leadership team meeting, why can't you get people energized by playing and getting started by a theme song? Why can't you? There's nothing in the corporate world that says you cannot do that. I highly encourage it. Some people might think it's weird at the beginning, but after a while, they're going to get engaged into it. So find some theme songs, whether it's for working out, going for a walk, your leadership team meetings, apply that to your strategy to improve your performance, because the number one thing that you can do to improve, enhance, and unlock your performance is to manage your state, and music can help you do that.